They're coming for your outboard motor. Right now, while you're watching this, politicians in California just signed the death warrant for every gas-powered engine on the water. By 2035, banned. Gone. Illegal to sell. Oregon's next. The EU's drafting identical laws. And boat owners? They're not taking it quietly. Marina parking lots look like war zones. Guys loading up trailers with 3-4 brand new outboards, storing them, hoarding them. Used motor prices exploded 40% in 3 weeks. Dealers can't keep 10-year-old Mercuries in stock. But here's what's driving captains insane. The electric motors they want us to buy. They can't make it 20 miles offshore. The batteries weigh more than the boat. One charter captain called it forced bankruptcy disguised as environmental policy. What you're about to see isn't just about regulations. It's about an entire industry facing extinction. They called it the future of boating. When California's Air Resources Board stood before the cameras in January 2025, they painted a vision that seemed almost utopian. Silent electric motors gliding through pristine waters, zero emissions in protected marine sanctuaries. A new era where technology would finally harmonize with nature. The mandate was clear and unprecedented. By 2035, no new gas-powered outboard motor could be sold in California. This wasn't a suggestion or a guideline. It was law. The environmental case seemed bulletproof. Marine engines, they explained, produced more smog-forming emissions per hour than cars. A single 2-stroke outboard could pollute as much as 40 automobiles. The numbers were staggering. California's recreational boats alone pumped out 900 tons of hydrocarbons annually. In sensitive ecosystems like Lake Tahoe and the Sacramento Delta, the damage was visible. Fish populations declining. Algae blooms spreading. Water quality deteriorating year after year. The manufacturers saw opportunity where others saw disruption. Mercury Marine immediately announced a $400 million investment in electric propulsion. Yamaha partnered with Torqueedo, Europe's electric boat pioneer. Brunswick Corporation, the industry giant behind everything from Sea Ray to Boston Whaler, declared electric power inevitable and essential. Even conservative Suzuki Marine began showcasing sleek electric prototypes at boat shows. The promises were intoxicating. Operating costs would plummet from $35 per hour to less than $3. Maintenance would become almost non-existent. No more oil changes, spark plugs, or winterization. Just plug in and go. Federal tax credits sweetened the deal with $5,000 off each motor. Some states added their own incentives, bringing potential savings to $10,000 per boat. Norway became the poster child. By 2024, 60% of their small recreational boats had gone electric. Their fjords were quieter, cleaner, measurably healthier. Tourism increased. Property values along waterways rose. What worked in Scandinavia, regulators insisted, would work in California. The transition timeline seemed generous. 10 years to phase out gas. 10 years for technology to improve. 10 years for infrastructure to develop. Nobody mentioned that Norway's average boating distance was 12 miles. California's was 70. The first crack in the promise appeared when boat owners started doing basic math. Energy density, a term most recreational boaters had never considered, suddenly became the most important phrase in marine forums. 1 gallon of gasoline contains 33.7 kilowatt-hours of energy and weighs 6 pounds. To match that energy with current lithium batteries requires 370 pounds of cells. For a typical fishing boat carrying 50 gallons of fuel, the battery equivalent would weigh 9 tons. The boat itself weighed 3. Tom Rodriguez, who runs a charter fishing operation out of San Diego, became an unwitting spokesperson for the resistance when his viral video showed him attempting to use an electric outboard for a full-day trip. The footage was painful to watch. By noon, the batteries were dead. His customers missed the tuna bite. The backup gas motor saved them from calling Coast Guard. "They want me to carry 4 tons of batteries for a trip that needs 200 pounds of gas," he said. holding up his fuel receipts. The math isn't just bad, it's impossible. Marina infrastructure posed another crisis nobody had anticipated. Installing charging stations wasn't like adding electrical outlets. Chuck Patterson, who owns 3 marinas along the California coast, received a quote that made him physically ill. $2 million in electrical upgrades, new transformers, underground cable runs, specialized fire suppression systems. His insurance company delivered the killing blow. They'd cancel coverage if he installed lithium charging stations within 500 feet of fuel pumps. The fire risk was uninsurable. The range anxiety that plagued early electric cars seemed quaint compared to what boaters faced. A dead battery on the highway meant calling AAA. A dead battery 20 miles offshore meant calling the Coast Guard. Current electric outboards promised 40 miles at cruising speed, but real-world testing revealed a darker truth. Fighting current cut that to 20. Cold water reduced it further. Add weight for fishing gear and passengers, and suddenly 15 miles became the practical limit. Most fishing spots were 30 miles out. By March 2025, something unprecedented was happening at boat dealerships across America. Used gas outboards, motors with thousands of hours, rust on the cowlings, compression problems, were selling for more than they cost new 3 years ago. A phenomenon nobody had predicted was unfolding. Boaters were hoarding engines like precious metals. Mike Stevenson, a dealer in Miami, watched a customer buy 4 brand-new Yamaha 250s, paying cash. "I'm not even putting them on a boat," the buyer explained. "They're going in my garage. These will be worth double in 5 years." The numbers told a story of pure panic. Mercury Marine reported a 47% spike in sales, but not from new boat buyers. Existing owners were purchasing backup motors. Suzuki couldn't meet demand for their DF350 engines. Honda Marine expanded production while publicly supporting electrification. The hypocrisy was obvious, but profitable. In Florida alone, 17,000 new gas outboards were sold in 60 days. Most went straight into storage. Online forums transformed into resistance networks. The Gas Rights Coalition, started by a crab fisherman in Monterey, gained 45,000 members in 6 weeks. They shared strategies for stockpiling parts, converting engines to older emission standards, and registering boats in regulation-free states. Someone leaked an internal email from a major manufacturer admitting they had $2 billion in stranded assets if regulations spread nationally. The email went viral. Trust in the industry evaporated overnight. The human cost was becoming visible in every coastal town. Jim Patterson, whose family had run Patterson Marine for 3 generations, sat in his empty showroom describing calls from desperate customers. Half wanted to sell their boats before values crashed. The other half wanted to buy every gas motor he could find. "I've got a 70-year-old man who saved his whole life for a fishing boat," Patterson said, his voice cracking. "He's asking if he should sell it now or watch it become worthless. What do I tell him? That politicians who've never been past the harbor are deciding his future?" The fundamental error in the regulation became clear when MIT marine engineer Dr. Sarah Chen published her analysis. Cars operate at 20% power during normal driving. Boats require 75% just to stay on plane. Water is 800 times denser than air. The physics are ruthlessly different. Her report, dense with equations but devastating in its conclusions, showed that matching gas outboard performance with current battery technology would require boats to carry more weight in batteries than their hulls could support. The regulators had copied automobile emission standards and pasted them onto marine applications. They'd ignored physics. The weight paradox was insurmountable with current technology. Add batteries to increase range, and the boat needs more power to move that weight. More power requires more batteries. The cycle spirals until the boat can't plane at all. A 25-foot center console that performed beautifully with twin 200s would need 11,000 pounds of batteries to match that power electrically. The boat's maximum capacity was 4,000 pounds. The math wasn't just challenging, it was impossible. Commercial operators faced extinction. Steve Mitchell, who runs whale-watching tours in Monterey Bay, broke down the economics with brutal clarity. His boat burns 50 gallons per trip, costing $200. The electric equivalent would require a battery pack, costing $300,000, lasting 5 years, with 6 hours of charging between trips. He runs 3 trips daily in summer. The business model collapsed. Charter fishing was worse. Tuna boats needed 200-mile range. Electric gave them 30. The entire $6 billion sport fishing industry faced elimination. The regulatory blind spot was almost comedic if it weren't so destructive. 87% of recreational boats are trailered. They could buy gas outboards in Nevada, register there, and launch in California. The regulation became meaningless. Worse, it created a black market. Unregistered motors, cash sales, boats documented in phantom addresses. The very oversight regulators wanted became impossible. California created a system that punished honest dealers while rewarding those willing to skirt the law. Environmental protection through prohibition had failed with alcohol. It was failing with outboards. The compromise nobody discusses publicly is already happening quietly. Major manufacturers are developing hybrid systems, electric for harbors and no-wake zones, gas for open water. But regulations written in absolute terms don't acknowledge dual systems. A boat with both electric and gas power is classified as gas only. The innovation that could actually reduce emissions by 60% is legally meaningless. Volvo Penta's revolutionary hybrid stern drive, which switches seamlessly between power sources, can't be sold in California after 2035. The perfect becoming the enemy of the good. Some manufacturers are betting on hydrogen, but the infrastructure would cost $50 billion nationally. Solid-state batteries might solve the weight problem by 2040, but asking the industry to survive 15 years on promises is economic cruelty. The most likely outcome is already visible: a gray market in gas outboards that makes prohibition look organized, boats registered to Delaware LLCs, motors bought through Mexican dealers, parts smuggled like contraband. The environmental protection achieved will be zero. The economic destruction will be total. The irony cuts deep. Boat registrations in regulation states have dropped 22%. People aren't switching to electric boats. They're switching to RVs, driving to lakes, burning more fuel than their boats ever consumed. The weekend warrior who used to motor 3 miles to his fishing spot now drives 200 miles to launch in Nevada. The carbon footprint increased. The opposite of every stated goal was achieved. As the sun sets over Marina del Rey, 2 boats idle side by side. One, a silent electric catamaran, perfect for the harbor tour it was designed for. The other, a weathered sport fisher with twin Yamahas, ready for tomorrow's 100-mile run to Catalina that the electric can't make. Maybe that's the lesson. Innovation isn't about choosing sides. It's about understanding that revolutions succeed when they offer something better, not when they eliminate something necessary. The marine industry has survived wooden hulls, giving way to fiberglass, 2-strokes becoming 4-strokes, carburetors becoming fuel injection. Each transition took decades and happened because the new technology was genuinely superior. This time, we're forcing change before the solution exists. And the cost isn't just economic. It's the death of a way of life that defines coastal communities from Maine to Mexico.